It's me and Scott. He's on his phone right now, but he is here. Oh, look, there's that beautiful face. We hope that you're loving the content. Please subscribe to the Raging Moderates YouTube channel. We're having a blast, and we hope you are too.
All right. Welcome to Raging Moderates. I'm Scott Galloway.
And I'm Jessica Tarlov.
Jess, it's been another packed week. Trump's now demanding that his own Justice Department pay him restitution for investigations into him, while admitting it sort of looks bad. At the same time, his White House ballroom project is being bankrolled by millions from a YouTube legal settlement, even as crews start tearing down the East Wing without official approval. And in a familiar troubling twist, election deniers are back. Trump's filling government roles with loyalists still fixated on 2020 and trying to tighten its grip on how elections are run. Plus, there was this moment that really stood out to us. Speaker Johnson being told that a pardoned January 6th rioter was just arrested for plotting to kill Hakeem Jeffries, and he just shrugged it off. Let's listen.
I will tell you this. The violence on the left is far more prevalent than the violence on the right. Don't make me go through the list. You all know it. All of these the assassination culture that's been advanced now, this is the left in almost every case that is advancing this and not the right. So let's not make it a partisan issue. You don't want me to go there.
I do want him to go there.
Yeah, let's go there, bitch. Let's go there. Let's look at the data. Let's go to the monitor here. What is it? There isn't a single study that shows that there isn't more violence stemming from the right. Your thoughts?
I think that the left has had a worse couple of months, and that's what they're referring to. And they think that that glosses over all of the trend lines that have existed since the 70s, I believe. But you're totally right. You can go to any source, including the government itself. We already talked about, a month or two ago when they took down that study that flew in the face of all of their talking points off of the DOJ website, but the Government Accountability Office, The Economist obviously had that big piece about it, the Center for Strategic Studies, Cato. You can get right-wing outlets that agree with this. You can get left-wing outlets that agree with this. And then you have Speaker Johnson and the mouthpieces for this administration that want to take absolutely zero accountability for anything. And I don't know if you saw this back and forth between Ben Shapiro and a few other guys who work at the Daily Wire, like Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles, and they were poo-pooing the Nazi texts from that GOP group text chain. And
the kids that are 31 and 35.
Exactly, right. The babies out there who are state senators in Vermont using that kind of language. And this was on the precipice of Donald Trump having to pull one of his nominees, this guy Paul Ingrassia, who had said that he has a Nazi streak. But anyway, everyone on the chat is poo-pooing this. And Ben Shapiro says, you got to police your own side. I mean, this idea that you can go out there with just one narrative that isn't rooted in reality anyway, and think that that makes us safer or seem like legitimate participants in American society is completely wrongheaded. And he said, I have a ton of security, and I have that because of threats that I get from the left, but also threats that I get from the right. And we can't be those guys that just point the finger at someone else who say, ignore the text chain. What about Jay Jones? Democrats said what Jay Jones was text messaging was absolutely deplorable and unacceptable. And some people even went as far as to say he should drop out of the race, even though early voting had already started. So that's kind of a moot point. But you have up to J.D. Vance just saying, this is how kids talk. I hope that's not how kids talk. Do your sons talk like that?
Yeah, my kids don't speak that way. Would never speak that way. My kids are so crazy woke. Anyways, a few things. One, I think one of the most ridiculous statements ever in the same two sentences is the assassination, did he call it, or the execution culture from the left? Yeah. And then in the next sentence, but let's not make this a partisan issue. Yeah. He just accused the Democratic Party of elevating a culture of execution, but he does want to make it a partisan issue. This whole thing I find so frustrating because we're spending 98% of our calories in the media trying to blame the other side. We're now trying to interpret fonts on shell casings. And I was just at one of these Masters of the Universe gatherings, and we had governors who are all running for president talking about coming together, about turning the political heat and rhetoric down. We could take the political rhetoric and the political heat way down that would do nothing to solve the problem, because what we're having here is an entirely false, hollow debate. And that is, any honest analysis of mass shooters or people who have perpetrated political violence, whether it's the person who started World War I, he was one of 11 kids, I think 7 had died, he was 19, Booth, Sirhan. You look at all of these people, and they have a few things in common. One, they were less politically active than you or me. The majority of them don't even fucking vote. What they are is, one, they're all male. 98.4% of mass shooters are men. And I'm trying to find someone on the 1.6%. I think it's sometimes because domestic shootings qualify as mass shooters. They're almost always in their 20s, sometimes in their 30s, but almost always in their 20s. They're having financial problems. They're renting an apartment in a garage. They're having health problems. They go online, they get radicalized by algorithms that tell them, no, it's okay to think that this person is your enemy. No, it's okay to think that this person perhaps has a link to some sort of pedophile ring in the basement that doesn't exist in a pizza parlor. And then I know I have a immature prefrontal cortex. I am more prone to violence than women. I have been radicalized by algorithms that see radical content as being very engaging so they can sell more Nissan ads. And just when it was at the wrong moment, there are fucking guns everywhere within an arm's distance. It has nothing to do, and also, I don't think it has anything to do with anti-Semitism. I don't think it has anything to do with left or right. It's the following. We're focused on the fonts on a shell case. The focus should be on the shells. People will find different things to write on their shell cases. Yeah. If you're serious about mass shootings, you've got to give young people more opportunity. You've got to weigh in with programs when young men are clearly struggling. You've got to hold social media and these big tech platforms accountable when they radicalize young men and convince young girls to start cutting themselves. And we have to do something about gun control. But all this cosplaying Obama at its best, the best part of this dialogue is when governors say we need to turn the heat down. I get that. That's nice. It's not going to fucking happen. Stop running for president and actually address the goddamn problem. Struggling young men, radicalization online, and access to guns. This is not a political argument. It's a demographic and a sociological argument.
Well, the right has made everything have to be a political argument. And Mike Johnson poo-pooing the fact that one of the January 6ers who got pardoned by the president is out making credible threats to Hakeem Jeffries' life is emblematic of the cultural rot within the Republican Party. I mean, every story that you introduced when we started talking today is about the Republican Party turning a blind eye to who Donald Trump is, what he's done in the past and what he's hoping to do in the future. Like, I doubt that there's more than 5 or 6 Republican senators right now who genuinely think it's okay to demolish the East Wing of the White House to put up a 90,000 square foot ballroom. Yes, Obama had to have a party in a tent, and that was universal shame that happened. Maybe we do need a bigger ballroom, but you don't need a ballroom that's 90,000 square feet compared to the 55,000 square feet of the White House itself. You also are not mentioning the fact that it's being funded by people that are in pay-for-play schemes with the president. I mean, Palantir, Google openly thanking him for the antitrust ruling that went their way. Blackstone, like that private equity carve-out and the loophole in the big, beautiful bill. And they're all just sitting there like they're dolls. They're non-thinking dolls. I have like $50 all over my house for the girls. And they're about as useful as Mike Johnson is in these moments. I mean, saying that the DOJ should pay him $230 million in restitution. And there was a law professor who's quoted in the original reporting on this in the New York Times piece who basically said, you don't need a law degree to understand what's happening here, like how deeply unethical and illegal this is. And odds are, since Todd Blanche was his personal lawyer, that he's going to find a way to get hundreds of millions of dollars of our taxpayer money because he's upset that he took classified documents and stored them in his toilet at Mar-a-Lago.
Well, if the government or the DOJ, and it's unlikely, but now in the realm of possibility, came up with these trumped-up charges and came after one of us, and a court swatted it away and said, no, this was politically motivated, we don't get reimbursed for our legal costs. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt. The political prosecution of him was, let's say, it was politically motivated. And I'm not saying I agree with that, but just for the purposes of this argument, okay, you still don't get your money back. That's why we try and elect thoughtful AGs. You know, you need a grand jury to issue, a subpoena. You're meant to have checks and balances or friction here such that you don't erroneously go after people, because guess what? In some civil suits and business suits, if you win the case, they have to pay your legal fees. When the government comes for you, whatever cost it is to defend yourself, you don't get that money back unless you're raising money. The notion that he won't get this money from the DOJ is ridiculous. The DOJ is now full of his political appointees. If the 53 people elected by their constituents to be Republican senators are so scared of this guy that after he sends a mob to kill them, they still fillet this guy, we're supposed to think the political appointees aren't going to give him $230 million? It's going to happen. As it relates to, in this ongoing orgy of corruption, as it relates to the White House, I mean, so I'm renovating a home, and you get a decorator and they sit down with you and they try and give you a sense that you have a vested interest in this place. And they say, all right, how do you want to decorate this place? And I redid my place in Soho. And they said, all right, my guy said to me, by the way, my friend for 40 years, who was I used to hang out with and party with at UCLA. Anyway, so he said he creates a mood board. What do you want your house to look like? Like, what is the real you? And I'm like, I want it to look like what I am. And that is, I'm a professor who's done well. That's what I want it to look like. And he said, okay, I get it. Donald Trump, if you look at, I'm pretty sure he sat down with someone who was probably a hot blonde, who's a decorator.
Was it Lindsay Halligan, the lawyer?
Or someone like that.
Yeah.
All I know is she was either runner-up or won some beauty contest somewhere. And he said the following. He said, I want the White House in the new East Wing to look like an Iraqi whorehouse, but a really high-end whorehouse. I want it to look like we're in, just before we head into Fallujah or whatever, we're rich and we need to go to the best brothel in Baghdad. The place looks so tacky, but beyond my snark, what this says is so obvious, and it's the following. If I'm renting a place, which you are when you're the president, this isn't your place. You don't own it. You're not staying there. If I'm renting a place, I won't buy a new fucking microwave. And the fact that he is renovating something, which might take 12, 24, 36 months, is yet another piece of evidence on top of the fact that he is normalizing masked secret police in cities. It all points to the same thing. Folks, he has no intention of leaving. You don't renovate when you're moving out in 36 months. So to me, okay, the orgy of corruption, we're used to that. Rubber stamp from people who are scared of him and willing to bend the knee. We know that's going to happen. The most interesting thing here, besides his incredibly bad taste, is that he is clearly not planning on leaving the White House.
I mean, I feel like folks are finding their voice to articulate the fact that we are in very real danger of not having free and fair elections in 2026 and then moving on to 2028. But I totally agree with you as someone who is renting currently. I have done very little in here to customize it, not even a California closet. And watching, again, the mental gymnastics of people trying to defend this, or the examples that they're giving, like Caroline Levitt pointing out that Barack Obama put in a basketball court. He only put lines, by the way, on a tennis court. But you're saying, oh, a bowling alley got added. Like, on what fucking planet? Do you think that an entertaining structure, which is all that he cares about in life, that is almost double the size of the White House, is the same thing as a golf simulator? Which I'm sure we'll get in there at some point. It's super frustrating. And I pointed this out on the 5, and it seemed to resonate with people that, like, this is also the trap that they want us in. Like, they're thrilled if we're outraged about the ballroom. They're annoyed, I guess, if we're pointing out the pay for play aspect of it. But while all of this is going on, the government is shut down, and he's completely screwing the farmers and the cattle ranchers who are in seemingly open revolt. I mean, like the Farm Bureau speaking out, the Cattle Bureau, just putting on social media that they're selling us out to Argentina and that something has to change. And I'm not sure if that happens, but like that's the energy that we really need to be harnessing, at least when we're thinking electorally.
I think that the renovation was one of many ideas produced by AI to distract us yet again from the third most powerful person in the world. The most powerful person in the world is Donald Trump. The second most powerful is she. The third most powerful is a dead man named Jeffrey Epstein. And I think this is yet another distraction. Like, it'll outrage everybody as it's occupying this media cycle. And as long as Jess and Scott and the other 40,000 people putting out content every day do not use the following words: Jeffrey Epstein. And I think they love it. I think they enjoy the stuff. Yeah. But a couple things. One, in addition to his bad taste, folks, he has no intention of leaving.
On that uplifting note, it was great to see you, Scott.
Good to see you, Jess.
Yeah.